Hi everyone, I'm doing my first video reflection on learning, and this one was about the Olympics in Brazil, and the questions were: do you think individuals are in a better or worse place economically since Rio was selected as a site of the Games? What role does the government have to local communities and citizens when awarded large financial incentives? And in what way does this connect to globalization? So Brazil had to spend billions of dollars to prepare for the Olympics, and what's interesting is they did spend that money, and what they could have done was actually spend the money beforehand in order to revitalize their communities. But they put it all into the Olympics, and they didn't. This is not was not so much about the reality of things, but how they appeared to people, how they appeared to other countries. So this is the hidden underbelly of many countries that are run by oftentimes corrupt officials. Rio residents seem to have accepted that corruption does exist within their government and the horrible conditions in which they live. However, this may be due to the fact that when you're fighting for survival, you oftentimes really can't think about anything else. I agree with the resident in Rio Trailer 2 who says, "This is revolting to me, this is a crime against humanity." And what's even worse to me is how many residents who had next to nothing prior to the Olympics were evicted and lost everything afterwards. It's a catch-22 to some degree, as they're also in the process of development, which can improve many communities and maybe provide employment for some. An example of that would be the revitalized former slave trade hub. Some residents were happy about the work that was being done, however others were not so happy about some of the artworks and culture that might have been lost. While the goal of revitalization may have been to assist existing populations, one resident talks about how a lot of the opportunity was actually given to those who, were in a better economic position. So some of the areas that were revitalized went up as much as 400% in cost, and so of course the more economically advantaged moved into those areas, while the poor were pushed out to the fringes. So a time video indicates that huge developments like Trump Tower are being built, were being built at that time. However, public housing and things like that could assist the poor and maybe some of the working class, were not even really considered. So in terms of globalization, it seems that Brazil's attempt to align with the capitalist idea, they have lost some of the value in terms of their culture. And I read an article that was written after the Olympic Games, which stated that very few Brazilian residents actually attended the Games, and this may be because, of course, they're very poor and they were just fighting for survival, and it may also be because they maybe resented what was going on and how their government was spending all of this money on the Games but couldn't put this back into the communities. So they were living in their own ways, being evicted, being thrown out on the streets, and the government was investing millions into the Games. So this must have been an insult to many Brazilians, especially there was a disparity in wages. I read one article that talked about how a cleaning person who worked in the village would make the equivalent of $3 a day, U.S. dollars a day, and whereas an International Olympic Committee executive made upwards of $250 per day. So I don't think the Olympic Games really did help the residents of Brazil, and may have contributed to the homeless population and economic disparity that already existed there. The government should be concerned with the populace under their charge and provide them with basic needs such as food, clean water, sanitation, healthcare, education, those types of things. This would not only improve individual status, but it would also improve the status of the country, and it would improve the status of the world. In terms of globalization, people who are concerned about survival do not have time to consider issues such as, environment and things like that. They are just, they're at a base level. They can't really think beyond. I don't think they can really think in those terms because they're just trying to get food on the table and live. But when their basic needs are met, they're more likely to become contributing members to an increasingly globalized world. So thank you very much.